Everyone wants to identify the bag that they carry, whether it's a purse or a tote. So here's a quick and easy project that you can make with the new PE500 and the included starter pack of thread and stabilizer. When you bring your new PE500 home from the store, the first thing you're going to want to do is, of course, embroider something. Well, take the machine out of the box and make sure that your embroidery arm has been connected to the machine. Next, turn on the machine. Okay, so once your machine turns on, you're going to see some different messages. In this case, we'll get the message that the carriage of the embroidery unit will move. So we press the OK button. Once you're ready to embroider, all you have to do is thread the machine. Be sure to have the thread follow the numerically marked threading path. And then when you get down here to number 5 and 6, you'll have the thread set in the pre-tensioning device, and it's ready to use the automatic needle threader. Just simply to press this lever, and the thread will pass through the eye of the needle, and the machine will be threaded automatically. When you're ready to embroider, you will want to have found a piece of fabric that you can put in your embroidery hoop. For this project, we found a woven piece of fabric. Anything will do that you found in your house. Remember, you want the fabric to be placed in the hoop, and you want to have used the adjustment screw to tighten the hoop so the fabric, when tapped, is kind of like the top of a drum. Next, we're going to slide the hoop underneath the presser foot, and we take these pins and we drop them in to the U-shaped frame here, snap it into place. And for this project, we're going to take the piece of stabilizer. Very important. Stabilizer is the key to success for most projects. You're going to simply slide, if you will, the stabilizer underneath the fabric in place. Now we get a very informative screen here. We'll see where our built-in designs are, our lettering fonts are, our frame patterns, memory pockets, USB connection, and also moving the hoop back for storage. Let's see, on this project we need to have a B for our luggage tag. So I'm going to go in here and select the fonts. I'm going to select the letter B, and then I'm going to say, let's do this. In this case, we're doing the large size. And then we're going to say, okay, next we're ready to embroider. So all I have to do is drop the presser foot, or I can just turn on the button and have it start embroidering. It's almost going to be, it's going to stop. It's going to do a reinforcement stitch, and then it's going to cut the thread. Okay. When my B is done embroidering, the next step would be to press this hoop here on the right. That deletes the design completely. I'm back to the screen again, and the next part of the luggage tag requires that I select an image that kind of works like the opening to pull the ribbon through. So in this case, I'm going to use a 0. And I found a good 0 here in this font collection on the top left. And then I'm simply going to go through and say, I want to do the medium size. Then I will press the arrow key, which lets me scroll through until I get to the numbers. Then I select the 0. Now, I want to be sure of where the 0 is going to embroider. So I will simply press Adjust and then Layout. Now I see a different screen. This is kind of like a map. What I want to do is move that 0 over to the left. So I can simply use my arrow keys to move it to the western direction, if you will. Let's bring it back. And in this case, I get a lot of information on the screen. In fact, this design now is in the -3.5 quadrant. So all I have to do after this is simply depress the presser foot, which is here in the middle of the machine, right behind the needle. And then I see the green light come on. I press my green light, and the 0, which will become my opening to pass my ribbon through, will start embroidering. Now, remember, this is a key holder or a luggage tag, and this has a back to it, remember? So I need to slide another piece of fabric underneath the hoop, if you will, so that I have that fabric in place so that when I create my luggage tag, it has a back to it that's hidden. No longer can I see the embroidery from my lettering. So once I've slid that into place and I have the 0 selected that I'm going to use as my opening image, I then simply press the green button for go, and it will start to embroider that opening for me. It'll go around in the circle doing a satin stitch. When it's all done, it will of course do another reinforcement stitch for me so that the stitching will not unravel. When that's done, the next step would be to press this icon on the right, which is kind of like a hoop with an image in it. It deletes the design. I'm ready to select a frame pattern. Here are the frame patterns. There's 10 different shapes. I'm going to scroll through. You see diamonds and ovals and squares. I'm going to select the rectangle, and then I'm going to select the satin stitch. Now if I wanted to, I could keep scrolling through because I have another luggage tag that I had some vine work on as well. So I would have selected number 8, and then I would have embroidered that, and then I would have gone back when it was done, and I would have selected the number 2 satin stitch. And again, remember, the sizing is important. Here's the frame, but I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to press layout, and then I have a new button here, layout and size. Next to it, I'm going to press the size, so that becomes darkened, and that means I can adjust the size of my design. I can make it larger or smaller. So in this case, I'm going to make it as large as possible, and just to check to be sure that everything was properly placed, I can depress this icon. It kind of looks like it's a dotted line with an arrow at the end to make a square, and that's kind of the tracing mechanism. That will trace out the design for me, and I can see exactly where the embroidery will take place. Another helpful button here also are these 2 little squares, and believe it or not, they're very small and they're hard to really see, but they have little dots. One of them that's darkened now has a dot in the center. That means that where my needle is placed right now is in the center of that embroidery area, right there. If I had depressed this other button here on the right, the little dot is in the lowest left-hand corner. So now it brings the dot down to this point in the embroidery. And so if I was adding some lettering, this would be very helpful because it would be telling me where the start of my embroidery was going to take place. And again, I could press the trace button and it would trace from that lowest left-hand corner all the way around in a square. But we've made lots of great decisions here, so the final step would be to simply make sure the presser foot is lowered and then press the green button for go, and I will embroider the rest of that frame. I've got my green light on the start and stop button, so I'm ready to just press that in, and it will go around the shape of the rectangle. And when I'm all done, after about 7 or 8 minutes, my project has been completed, and I have this great looking luggage tag. And everybody will want to know where I got that handy luggage tag with my own initials on it. I got it with my new Brother PE 500.